Good morning. I'm going to keep doing this. Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to worship with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura. I am the Reverend Dana Warsnop, minister of this congregation. And as you were just all coming in and sitting down, finding your places, I leaned over to our worship associate, Sue Brinkmeyer, and said, I love being a minister. And, and that is actually true almost all of the time. It is good to be together in all the ways we have created to be together these last 2 years. And so welcome, welcome, welcome to people on Zoom and on YouTube and all people here, far and near, who are able to join us. Today, we will be acknowledging the losses that COVID time has rained down upon us. Though with those losses, we have learned new ways to be together, for which we can also be grateful. So welcome all near and far, those who are spanking new to this congregation, and those of you who've been stalwarts for years. Welcome, dear ones, with hearts full of gratitude and sorrow. Spirits, shy or confident, lives holding so many stories. It is our practice to acknowledge that the land we live upon is the unceded lands of Native peoples. We honor their lives and remember the legacy and the sorrow of their losses. For the land we call Ventura County was once and still is the home of the Chumash peoples. A couple of quick announcements. Next Sunday is our Bridging Sunday, when we will acknowledge the seniors among our youth group who are graduating and moving on to the next step, that next phase of their lives. And we will have a baby dedication, and we will then have our picnic after our all-church picnic after church at Arroyo Grande Park, where there's this nifty new all abilities playground that we get to explore as well. Then the following Sunday looks like it's going to be our new member Sunday, and then we will have our annual meeting after church. And also then remember that June 18th is a active bystander intervention training. I talked about it last week. You can still sign up, and it's really going to be powerful, is my prediction. I'm signed up. Come on and join me too. So let us arrive fully together from wherever you are joining this service, here and beyond. Bring your whole sweet self here. We now make room for all that you bring here to this congregation as we enter sacred space.
Good morning. I am Sue Brinkmeyer, and I love being a worship associate. We invite all of you who are streaming into this service to light a candle or a chalice as Reverend Dana lights the chalice of our free faith here in the sanctuary. Feel that. Each breath, every inhale, exhale, we are living, breathing, connected. We are the whole, complete, beautiful selves that we were born to be. Feel that in your bones, in your muscles, in your heart, your blood. That is the extraordinary you that was born for this time, this place, this moment. Feel that, the struggle, the worry, the pain, the loss, the grief. It is still you. You are still whole, beautiful, extraordinary. Feel that. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. I'm Carolyn Bjerke, the music director. I'd like to welcome you all online and here in person. Our opening hymn is based on the Buddhist meditation of loving kindness. The first verse is giving of loving kindness to ourselves and then extending it out to those around us. And the third verse is to all around the world that are in need of loving kindness. So please rise in body or spirit. Let us join together in song. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
Be seated. On this Memorial Day, I invite you all to enter with us into the land of grieving. For there have been so many losses in these last 2 years and more. Sometimes it feels like this whole time has been loss after loss after loss. Yes, there has been far more to this time than loss, yet grief can crowd everything else out. There is just so much to do. How can I possibly take time to grieve? COVID time has been relentless, upending our lives over and over. Our country has lost more than 1 million lives to the pandemic, more than any other country. The world has lost more than 6 million souls. The grief of it all just ripples in ways that we recognize and ways that we don't. And then in the first half of 2020, we lost George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor. The second anniversary of Floyd's murder was just 4 days ago. And then in just the last 2 weeks, we have lost 30 souls to mass shooting. Beloved elders at a shopping center in Buffalo, and 19 bright, precious children and 2 of their teachers in Uvalde, Texas. And the last 2 years have brought so many different kinds of loss. Our children lost so many learning days. Many lost jobs. We've lost trust and certainties and habits of life that we relied upon. Losses, both collective and individual, that are impossible to list. And I will stop here and now and invite everyone simply to breathe a moment. In 1868, Memorial Day was set aside after the Civil War in America to remember the more than 650,000 lost on both sides of that horrific conflict. And now we mourn nearly 1.4 million who have died in American wars since. It is rare for me on this Sunday to expand Memorial Day beyond honoring the people who have lost while serving our country, though I have very mixed feelings about that, all of that service. Though there are people who have made great sacrifice, and I don't want to undermine that in any way. And yet today, let us also acknowledge that the land of grief is our home these days. It seems appropriate on this day to have a memorial for all the lives that we have lost recently, to give it room and perhaps some space to breathe. And so we will have several rituals through this service, carrying us into a place where we can hold grief and find ways together to process it, I hope. And we begin by breathing, simply breathing. This is my most common pastoral advice, no matter what issue people come to me with: loss, an unexpected turn of life events, even the happy ones. Breathe. Remember to breathe. Really breathe. And it's not just that we exactly forget how to breathe, though when life grows over full of whatever, our breath gets tighter and shorter. Shoulders scrunch and diaphragm squeeze, and we don't get as much air. So, let your shoulders relax. Breathe out and let your diaphragm drop and make more room. Now, we're going to do some breathing here together. And I want to say that this is one of those moments that it's not as comfortable, I know, to breathe when you've got a mask on. And let us please keep our masks on here. And this is one of those moments where you at home on Zoom and YouTube, you can breathe as loud and hard as you want and freely. We will be a little bit contained for one another's safety. And still, I invite you to breathe. Breathe as we enter the land of grieving. Now, I also want you to know you only have to go so far in. And if emotions, you don't have to dive all the way deep down into grief because we're doing this today. And if you do step into this a little bit and emotions flood in, pop your head up above the water and remember to breathe. And there are so many different ways to breathe. Many spiritual practices focus on breathing because it is an autonomic physical function of our bodies that we do have some control over. Some people will suggest breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. My spiritual director suggests that I make my out breath longer than my in breath. So I put those two together a little bit. You can also breathe deeply into your belly or simply feel it breathing sideways, expanding your ribs. My favorite advice was from someone who simply said, breathe in the way that works best for you. So let us take a couple of minutes in silence to breathe, perhaps a little more deeply with each breath. And it is best to uncross your legs and put your feet on the floor and relax your torso, shoulders drop, etc. Those of you who are home, lean back, I hope, into a really comfortable chair. Let whatever arises, arise, and just keep breathing. I will ring the gong to enter the silence and to end it. Breathe. Each Sunday, this congregation gives away our collection to an organization in the larger community or to funds that help people in our own church. Those at home have two ways to give: through the link that will be posted in the Zoom chat or by texting from your phone at the number that will soon be on your screens, 844-901-1779. Folks present here can text to give to that number, or you can still write a check or give cash and drop it in the basket at the back of the sanctuary, preferably after the service. Our offering today will support a really wonderful effort that is returning to our congregation. Our offering today will support the return to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura of the Safe Sleep Ministry, of the Lift Up Your Voice to End Homelessness program. The Safe Sleep is supported by both the city of Ventura and it is managed by the Salvation Army. The church participated in this program for many years, though we took a hiatus when the numbers in our parking lot dwindled to nearly nothing during the pandemic. And yet, since then, the Salvation Army has been unable to find a place for recreational vehicles, despite the fact that there is a long waiting list of people who their main residence is an RV and they need a place to park it. So we are opening back up our parking lot, and this time for people whose only home is an RV. They will again be able to park safely and sleep overnight in our lot between 4 and 8 a.m. The Salvation Army will again provide case managers to help them toward more stable living situation. And each participant of the program, as was true in the past, everyone needs to have insurance, up-to-date registration, and a drivable RV. And that can take some money that people don't have to get into the program. So your donations today will go to helping people meet those requirements so they can sleep safely and undisturbed in our parking lot again. Thank you for giving generously, as you always do. are so grateful for the generosity of this congregation, which weaves a tapestry of love we call community and holds us together tenderly. Grieving is hard. It hurts. We have lost someone or something we love. Breathing and being present to the pain can help us whenever grief prepares to overwhelm. And yet it does hurt. And grief is not a land where we want to live all the time. Yet, paradoxically, the more we try to push grief away, not letting ourselves experience it, it is one of the ways that we can actually manage to prolong it in an attempt to not have it at all. So we can also give ourselves kindness, compassion, and support while we are grieving. I commend to you all the website, selfcompassion.org. To everyone who is in times of sorrow and stress, whenever those things arise more fully and intensely and right before you, because it comes and it goes. And when it comes, selfcompassion.org has some practices that might help. Supportive touch is an exercise on this site that at least 2 different people recommended to me recently. And when I get 2 or 3 of those, I start to pay attention, right? Okay, this site explains, touch activates the parasympathetic nervous system to help us calm down and feel safe. You may feel a little odd doing this at first, perhaps, but your body actually doesn't know that. It just responds to the physical gesture and the warmth. It just responds to the sense of care. So I invite you to join me in this practice as much or as little as you wish. And when grief arises, you can put your hand somewhere comforting on your body. First, take a couple of breaths. Again, always the breath. And gently place your hand over your heart. Feel the gentle pressure, perhaps some warmth. You can put both hands over your heart. You can move your hand in gentle circles over your heart. Or you can place a hand on your cheek. Or cradle your own face with both hands, as a parent or grandparent might. Another supportive touch can be to wrap your own arms around your own self and give yourself a hug, a squeeze, again, circles. Maybe one or both hands on your belly. To remind you to breathe deeply there. Maybe a hand on your heart and a hand on your belly. So many different ways you can gently give care to yourself. Maybe just simple folded meditation hands, open to love, to giving and receiving love. Now, kids, this is actually something you can try at home. And again, folks on Zoom and YouTube, you may well already be home. And indeed, at home is a great place to practice this and fully try out whatever comforts you. So let us breathe again. And this time, think gently as possible of someone or something you have lost, perhaps in these 2 years. And when the grief arises, practice for just a few seconds, a minute at most, a supportive, gentle touch. I'll ring the bell again after a short time.
When we are in pain or when a great joy comes into our lives, sharing it with those who care about us is what we do as whole, connected parts of a community. And so we take time in our service each week for that sharing. We place stones in water for both the celebrations and the sorrows in our hearts, and the ripples that go out represent the way that something that touches the heart of one of us ripples throughout the community to touch us all. You can submit a joy or sorrow via a link on the website, uuventura.org, or a link in our Thursday bulletin, UUCV This Week. Those received by 10 p.m. Saturday will be shared Sunday. I invite you now to speak into the gathered community or write into the Zoom chat the names of those you wish to celebrate or memorialize, or those in need of the loving embrace of this community. Please feel free to continue to add to the chat even after this silent pause has ended. Reverend Dana will now place one final stone in the water for all the joys and sorrows yet unspoken in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. May we be truly grateful for all that is our life.
Please remain seated as we sing Comfort Me. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
Our reading this morning is Let Us Rest in This Peace by Reverend Victoria Weinstein. Spirit of life and love, we have gathered again out of our separateness to know that we are not alone. In our fears, we are not alone. In our grasping for peace, finding it in fleeting moments and losing it again to some turmoil of the minds and heart, we are not alone. In our cynical moments, our wonderings of, is this all there is? Is this the best we can do? We are not alone. In our pain, we are not alone. And so we dwell in you, Spirit of healing and wholeness, for this brief time, willing to be held here in an immense and eternal love, whose origins we do not know, whose reality is irresistible. It calls us on. It reaches between us to fill spaces. It consoles the grieving and it calms the anxious. It gives new visions to eyes dimmed by tears and exhaustion. It opens the ear to deeper truth. It makes a place in the heart as hope. Let us rest in this peace and be held here.
It is our practice when someone dies in our congregation to light a memorial candle for them. We take the light from our chalice and light our candle, and we hold silence for a time, and then we relight our chalice. I invite you now to hold something that you have lost. Invite it in now. Consider some grief that you have been holding through these last years. This may even be a familiar grief you have been carrying for a good while. It may be something that is newly arising in you. Let it arise as it will. Honor it. Hold it. Let it be here. Breathe. Hold yourself tenderly. And after a time of silence, Carolyn will begin to play and sing. So let us now light this memorial candle for our tender losses.
I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not for the memories. I'm so tired, I can't sleep, standing on the edge of something much too deep. It's funny how we feel so much, but we cannot say a word. We are screaming on the inside, oh, we can't be heard. I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not for the memories. I'm so afraid to love you, more afraid to lose. Clinging to the past, that's something that doesn't let me choose. Where once there was a darkness, a deep and endless night, you gave me everything you had. You gave me life. I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not for the memories. I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not for the memories. Weep not for the memories.
So I pretty much wept my way through my first ever meditation retreat. I think I've told you this story in a little bit more detail before, but there I sat at a meditation center nestled in the golden California hills and sobbed with more grief and sorrow than I ever knew my sweet body could hold. They were healing tears, though I didn't know it at the time. And the loving kindness meditations were the worst. I was lost on the very first line. May I be filled with loving kindness. Perhaps I had never heard a voice as kind as the teacher's as he led this meditation. Certainly, I had never spoken so gently to myself. And gentleness is what we all need in the land of grieving. Gentleness for ourselves and for others. Psychotherapist Gary Greenberg recently wrote, "Grief is how we live now, here in COVID time, and we will carry our grief beyond COVID time, whenever beyond actually comes. Grief arises," he writes, "because of what is best about us. What is best about us? Our ability to love. Yet that ability itself becomes the source of our suffering. We can mourn the loss of anything to which we have become attached: a pet, a job, a home, a way of life. And he goes on to say what we already know, but it helps to hear it again. There are actually no stages to grief, and really no necessary limits to it. And even the professionals don't really know, quote, enough about it, how it works, to know what to expect of grief. We grieve because of our human capacity to love, which is paradoxically our highest quality as humans, the one we want to expand and move toward all the time. And yet it means that we must also grieve, because nothing in a human life lasts forever, and we will lose people and things that we love. It's part of the bargain. It comes with the territory, and it hurts. Buddhism does teach us non-attachment to ease suffering, but that does not mean that Buddhists then somehow don't grieve, that they're all so unattached that they're just sort of floating through life. The Dalai Lama has said that he still misses his brother every single day, a brother who died in 1978. There is something about Buddhist practice that can help us as we grieve, acknowledging and accepting, suffering it a little bit less. And I have sometimes heard people say that they worry about going into the grief, because giving over to the tears, they fear that they will never stop. I have not known that to happen, either in my own life or with others I have supported through grief. Honestly, the tears at that meditation retreat kept going for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, and I'm not crying now. And still, the times we are living in has so many layers of grief that it can overwhelm us. There is just so much complexity to it all right now. And perhaps we do need, as writer Tish Warren says, perhaps we need an official national day of mourning and reflection. We need places of worship and civic organizations of all stripes to join in with services of memorial and lament. moments of silence or ceremonies of remembrance. We as a people are tired. We are broken. We have shouldered so much grief. There needs to be ritualized and intentional space to acknowledge this together. There may never be such a day of national mourning, though we may find it, we may create that. And still we can create our own as we are doing this day. Grief is hard. And because of that, we should never feel like we have to do it alone. So here we are together. As poet Amanda Gorman wrote just this last week, everything hurts. Our hearts are shadowed and strange, minds made muddied and mute. We carry tragedy, terrifying and true. One of the things that I have been grieving in these last 2 years is confidence in things that I have always loved about America. Our optimistic can-do attitude. And it's not just that I am seeing more and more the shadow side of that. I am also realizing that that attitude is not what we need now. There are cultures that have more rituals and practices around grieving. I think of the keening wails of people grieving publicly in other parts of the world. Perhaps it is America's determined optimism that makes it harder for us to grieve, at least so publicly, that makes us think a too prolonged grief is somehow a sign of weakness. This is what psychologist Greenberg posits. A beautiful thing about American culture allows us to continue in the face of challenges and change. We work hard, we accomplish great things. We keep our gaze solidly fixed on things before us, not behind us. Yet in all that, we as a culture have left little space for grief. The concern, there's a concern among many that we are waking. The concern many are waking up to is not only that there is now long COVID, there is also long grief. The American Psychiatric Association added prolonged grief disorder to its diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorders in the fall of 2021, in part prompted by the pandemic. Though I also note here that there is significant concern that this is simply pathologizing a natural process, that grief takes time and more time for some than others, more time than our culture wants to allow. Long grieving is not necessarily a disorder, and yet, golly, it can hurt. Our poet continues, everything hurts. It's a hard time to be alive, and even harder to stay that way. We're burdened to live out these days, while at the same time, blessed to outlive them. Another common adage is voiced by none other than Johnny Cash. And I know we claim him as one of our own, though his years living in Casita Springs were apparently very short. Cash said, "There's no way around grief and loss. You can dodge all you want, but sooner or later, you just have to go into it, through it, and hopefully come out on the other side. The world you find there will never be the same as the world you left. I don't entirely agree. I think a truer view is summed up by C.S. Lewis, who wrote, "Grief is not, as I thought, a state, but a process, like walking in a winding valley, which gives you a new landscape every few miles." We can't bypass grief, skip totally over it, hop around it, go on living without, as if that's just now the new reality and I'm not going to process that. Yet you don't also have to plow straight up a rocky path to reach a summit after which everything will all be better. The land of grieving is more like Lewis's winding valley. The path can carry you deep to the valley floor, though it also winds up the sides, revealing new and even beautiful vistas. This is a hard time to be alive. Our grief, our grieving is real. And yet it is also not constant. It is not forever. And I do think that much of the anger and vitriol in our political times and even in our daily lives is ultimately a kind of unexpressed, unmetabolized grief. And so today I have invited you all to spend some time in the land of grieving for a purpose, to begin processing some of the painful realities we are facing, realities that don't go away because they hurt us so much, to give us perhaps some tools while winding through this valley, to acknowledge, honor, accept, and ultimately to integrate our sorrows so that they may transform into something beautiful that enriches our lives and honors the people and things we have lost. If today, or if any time in the future, you come to think that maybe you are stuck under a rock at the bottom of the valley in the land of grieving, please reach out. You do not need to be alone in your grief. Grief is real, and grief is usually a very healthy response to loss. Healthy, and yet so hard. It can, however, transform into love. A love, Amanda Gorman writes, a love that lets us live. And she says, may we not just grieve, but give. May we not just ache, but act. May our signed right to bear arms never blind our sight from shared harm. May we choose our children over chaos. May another innocent never be lost. Maybe everything hurts, our hearts shadowed and strange, but only when everything hurts, may everything change. May we grieve deeply and well. May we be changed and heartened and made whole. May you do this in your own tender heart. And may we do this together, holding all our hearts tenderly. And so now I invite you into a practice of leaning into wholeness. For the purpose of experiencing the grief is not to wallow in the pain, but to re-experience a wholeness even while holding still an aching loss. And emptiness is a part now of the fabric of the life you know. A part of what can yet be, really always is, a wholeness and a fullness of life. Even as there is emptiness, there is to this wholeness. So I invite you to lean back or lean forward as you listen again to the words of a loving kindness meditation. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May all be filled with loving kindness. May all be well. May all be peaceful and at ease. May all be whole. Amen. May it be so.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in our closing hymn, Peace Like a River. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean in my soul. I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got tears like the ocean, I've got tears like the ocean, I've got tears like the ocean in my soul. I've got tears like the ocean, I've got tears like the ocean, I've got tears like the ocean in my soul. I've got strength like a river, I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like the mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain in my soul.
As we prepare here in the sanctuary to extinguish our chalice, please join me in reading the words on the screen in just a moment.
I bet you they're not there.
They may
somehow.
have disappeared, in which case I bet you know them by heart. Join me if you can. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, or the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we carry into our lives until we are together again.
So those of you who are on Zoom, I invite you into a Zoom breakout room to join in some community. And if those of you here have cash or checks, you can put them in the basket in the back of the sanctuary. And I leave you with these words from Nancy Wood. Hold on to what is good, even if it is a handful of earth. Hold on to what you believe, even if it is a tree which stands by itself. Hold on to what you must do, even if it is a long way from here. Hold on to my hand, even when I have gone away from you. Go forth in love. Go forth in peace. Go forth in tender memory. May it be so.